Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Outwired. My name is Brian Searle with Insider Perks. Super excited to be back here with both our kind of guests here that kind of rotate in and out. I'm the only, I guess, loser who doesn't have other things going on in his life that pulls him away from this show. But welcome back. Greg was missing last week. I had to think for a minute who was missing. That's part of getting old. Welcome back, Greg. Hope you had a good time with you had your event with your wife, right? She did You do briefly tell us what your wife won, or what
Certainly did. She so as part of her new position with the Ohio Division of Wildlife, Jamie got the task of reinventing the Lake Erie Birding Trail. It's 317 miles long along the Lake Erie shoreline from state line to state line, and it encompasses over 90 different birding hotspots along Lake Erie. She got to visit each one and rework the book. It's an all new publication that she and her team completely redid. She debuted it at the Wildlife Diversity Conference, which is the largest of its kind in Ohio. It's every year at the Ohio State University. She got to speak in front of over 1,000 people and debut the book, and it was awesome. She's a great public speaker and presenter, and she knocked it out. So thanks for asking, man. Yeah, it was a great day for the two of us, mostly her, but for both of us.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear it, man. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
So I think we'll start this with what we always do, right? Like what came across our desks in the last week or so. I mean, you guys know what the subject of the show is going to be. Doesn't have to be related to that, of course, but whatever you want to say. Scott, you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah. For me, I feel like every once in a while I get a market research study that is pretty. It's a little bit different, and one of the things I really like is how people make decisions, like the information, like how does a person make a decision? What trade-offs are they willing to make? And I convinced a client to do one of these studies. And so I've been immersed in this data, and it's, this is just, where's the data geek thing? Data talk. It's when you
do you have synergy with the data geek?
When you see it kind of come alive and you see what it is at the end of the day after you put all this stuff in there and you start looking at the numbers and then you start seeing why people attach to things, and it's just pretty cool. You get to see what's at the top, what's at the bottom. It's very clear. It's not just a simple ranking. It's it's a trade-off approach to decision making, and so that for me is a very rewarding part of the work. It's very interesting. It's very difficult for me to explain to people even how I do it, but that's part of the that challenge that comes with it. Anyway, that's it. It's data geeky stuff, but it's kind of cool, and I like it when people are into it and they use it in what they're going to do, and this will be used. So.
Yeah, I mean, decision making is always interesting to me overall, but I know you're talking about it more deeper than that. But yeah, I mean, I was, and again, I don't want to go into politics, but I was watching the All In podcast the other day, and a couple of them went to the White House because David Sachs is there, and he used to be the host or whatever. And then one of the comments they were giving was they went into the Oval Office with Trump or whatever, and they just had like a very small glimpse into like a couple minutes of just the amount of shit that gets thrown at the president of the United States, whoever they are, with the decisions you have to make in rapid fire. And so I feel like I could be capable of that, but I don't really have any idea, right? But it's just interesting how, if you have longer to ponder a decision versus shorter, does that impact what goes into the decision-making process? Obviously it has to, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then you have to rely more on the people who are surrounding you and advising you, and it's just, it's fascinating to me how the brain works in that capacity is all. Greg?
Well, so first I want to say that I think we need to revamp. I just got this mental image as Scott is talking, because you can see how passionate he is about the data and the research. And I love the psychology of this too, don't get me wrong. But like you can see with Scott, it goes to another level. So I think we need to revamp his opening to where he's like a Dr. Frankenstein, and he's got the data on the, and he brings in the, because he said when he brings it to life, right? We bring in the, and he puts the two things to the bolt and and then the data comes alive.
We
Maybe
might
not.
be able to do that with the new image gen stuff.
Maybe right. Maybe I'm drinking too much today. But that was the mental image I got. But no, interesting thing for me that's come across my desk. Oddly enough, you know how sometimes you'll be like, "Is my phone listening to me?" And then 5 minutes later, there's 5 ads for something that
Yep.
you never looked up before, but it's all on your phone. So I have 2 clients going right now, one in Kentucky, one in Wyoming. They're building parks from dirt, and they both started asking me same time, completely unrelated and completely unprompted, about how many things can we automate, how many things can we use AI for.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "Have you guys seen the Outwired podcast?" And then no, haven't at all. Just something that I've been thinking about. Well, interestingly enough, we actually get on and we talk about this. So I promoted the podcast to them selfishly, and then just was kind of explaining the different ways they can go with things like wild energy, or even as far as something like an RV self park, because actually their parks would work out for something like that. But I just thought it was interesting. I felt like they were listening to me through my phone or something, and went, "That's this guy about how to automate things." I'm like, "What? What just happened, guys?" Okay, cool. Yeah, let's look at it. There's all sorts of stuff we could do. So
It's interesting. Like it feels like it's rolling downhill. Like for me,
I
like
agree.
I've been saying this for 2 years, and obviously I'm the tech early adopter, like an Elon or somebody who always overestimates the amount of, or underestimates the amount of time it's going to take people to adopt stuff, right? But it feels different the last 2 months, maybe. Like just my inbox just feels, and the calls and the calls that Lisa's taking, like it just feels like people are all of a sudden now like way more open to it, or have just found us, or maybe they're just waking up from this long extended winter nap. I don't know. But I think we probably have like 40 or 50 chatbots and AI call agents that are pending
Nice.
for us to build, like a backlog of those, right? That we're building. So, but just, and automation is clearly more than that, right? It's wild energy. It's all the other things you touched on too.
Yeah, gates and things like the
Yeah.
automated check-in and utility on and offs and that kind of stuff. But very similar, right? Very much, maybe not in the same lane, but on the same roadway for sure.
For sure, absolutely. All those things are valuable, and they contribute to your operations. So you mentioned, what are you drinking, Greg? I saw that.
Oh, that's water. It's water. I'm not cool. It's a pint of vodka. It's an entire pint. In about 30 minutes, I'm gonna be out of the camera's view. I'll be.
I got something interesting for you guys here. I don't know if I can hold this up to the Lisa. Switch to the other camera. I like the other camera better anyway, because you can only see half my face. That means I'm half as ugly, right? Is that the way math works?
Only if it's your good side, bro. Otherwise,
So I don't know if you can see that. Probably not. It's too small.
Not really.
It's
No.
poutine. Do any of you know what poutine is?
That's where you put gravy on your fries, right? That's
No, not poutine.
Oh,
poutine.
Oh, my bad. My bad.
Okay, there you go. So
interesting logo.
So what this is, and I'm just going to read you from the back of the bottle here for a second. It says, before there was whiskey, there was poutine, the original Irish spirit. Some people call it pochine, but the original Irish spirit, Ireland's water of life, our gift to the world as one of the first, if not the first, spirits to ever be distilled. This is basically like the original whiskey before they made whiskey. And several companies like sell it, but it's fascinating and interesting. So
I find it really interesting that Ireland's water is whiskey. Their water of life. I feel like that's a.
It's actually really good though. Like it tastes like whiskey. It tastes like whiskey.
Statement right there.
So I think it counts for my whiskey experience. Anyway, that's what I'm going to drink during the show. So here's what came across my desk. Well, lots of things come across my desk because I'm obsessed and have no life, as we already talked about. But a couple quick videos I want to loop you guys into that interested me. Well, one I think I shared with you, Greg, on chat. Lisa, could you share a screen? We're going to take a look at a couple of these. So share the short one. Yeah, introducing natural walking. Let's do that one. Then we'll just go play that for a second. You have to switch the other screen and play it. Okay, so this is a company, we've looked at this before, Greg, on the show that Scott missed. This is Figures. So they released this video literally yesterday. This is natural walking. So what they've done is they've basically taken, there's a technology that NVIDIA released. I can't remember the exact name of it off the top of my head, but it basically is the ability for you to place a robot's brain or its knowledge or its LLM or whatever is behind it, right, into a simulation where you can take, like, walking as an example, and you can do, like they said in the video, years of data in like a couple hours, and it can learn every possible way that you could walk, every time, everywhere your foot is turned, or your knee is bent, or your hips are pointing, or like years and years of learning how to walk, and just download it into all the robots once it learns how to do all that. So this stuff, like, again, we're not going to dive into robots today, but it's just moving very, very fast, and that's their Figure 2 robot doing that. Their Figure 3 is supposedly coming out sometime within the next month or so. I mean, like, it's there, and I think they're building it, but it's just waiting for announcement, and that's the one they're going to mass produce. And they've said they're going to make, I think the target is 20,000 in 2025, and then 100,000 next year. So just volume of production. So that stuff was interesting to me. And then what else do I have up there, Lisa? I think I have image gen from ChatGPT that we're going to demo real quick briefly. Oh no, I don't have ChatGPT. We're going to do that separately. So check this out. We're going to go all over the place for a second. 3D printing, guys. What do you guys think about this?
About 3D printing?
Yeah. Have you looked at where the technology is?
Yeah, I think it's fantastic, honestly. It's like some of the things I've seen that can be 3D printed. I mean, I've seen, like, in manufacturing, how they've used 3D printing to create, like, amazing efficiencies in what they do, for creating, whether it's creating prototypes or, replacement parts, model replacement parts. And I know that, because you're in that area, Greg, like in the auto industry and some of those manufacturing places, it's like really kind of revolutionized the business. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, we had actually talked about if I still had the campground, so we sold it in 2020. It's been gone for it's been gone for 4 years and 3 months. I probably would have one by now because the price has come down and the print quality is better. I have friends and family who have these things, and they use them to print replacement parts for things in their business. And it's not super. It takes a long time to print some of the more complex and larger things. So maybe it doesn't work out from a time scale look at it. But if it's a part you can't get anymore, yeah, it's incredible. I even have I know a guy who prints life-sized, they're like anime dolls.
Yeah.
He's okay.
Do your hobby.
It seems odd, but it's wild. Like he takes these things to Comic Cons and people stand and take pictures with all of them because they look exactly like the comics. So it's kind of cool. It's not something I would do, but load a van up with I can't imagine what that van looks like going down the road. It looks like like 25.
Might get pulled over a few times.
Yeah, that's going to be weird. But the HOV lane is no problem, right? He can ride that all day. But yeah, it's amazing what they can do, and especially like in Europe where they're printing homes.
Well, they're doing that in
well,
Mexico. They printed whole villages in Mexico.
Right. There's another example. Yeah, it's incredible. I keep waiting to see that here in the States.
I mean, it's here, it's coming. Like, it's just not like it's not widespread. And there's
Right.
been, and it's interesting to me. Again, I don't want to. This isn't the main subject of the show, right? But it's interesting to me how quickly this potential has the potential to scale up when you go into like all the things we talked about, potentially a down economy and all the things. Like the operator who and these exist. You can print probably a cabin for less than $20,000, and probably closer to 10, because 20,000 is the number that stuck out of my head years ago. And if you have that printer and they're portable and you can put them on your campground and print them right there, the first person who does that is going to be able to destroy their competition, because they'll be able to charge people $55 a night and make the same profit margin that somebody charging $300 will, because they can print it on site and there's no shipping and all the materials, and they don't have to pay the markup and all the things of human labor involved and everything else. And they're unique and probably Instagrammable things that aren't coming out of a cookie cutter factory.
Yeah.
So those things interest me. We're going to watch a brief video here. This is, and so I think the one thing that I've seen with 3D printing is that it is a hassle to set up. Sometimes, depending on the machine you buy, it's a kind of a high learning curve. But I want to watch, and this is a 5-minute video. I don't know if we'll skip around, but it's kind of interesting. It's just the promo video for this new printer that they just released yesterday. So I think you guys will find this pretty interesting. So go ahead, Lisa, the Bamboo Lab one, yeah.
Making is in our DNA. It's what defines us. But along the way, many of us stopped making things for ourselves. Now is the time to rediscover that spirit and bring back personal manufacturing. So what exactly is a personal manufacturing hub? Well, that's me, the Bamboo Lab H2D. And behind me are the Johnsons. Let me show you how they're realizing their personal manufacturing dreams. Hey, Mr. Johnson, what are you working on?
I'm making a custom bike saddle and helmet. I need gear that's sturdy, comfortable, and perfectly fit to me.
All right, let's talk shop. To make this custom bike saddle, we're going to use my dual nozzle system. I can print with 2 different materials simultaneously, rigid and soft. This means the saddle can be printed as a single piece with soft cushioning built right in. Now, onto our bike helmet. Let's get your head measurements. Look how we were able to print the entire helmet all in one go. Now, let's go make some reflective decals. I'll cut them perfectly to fit around your helmet. With me on the job, you're getting the helmet you've been waiting for.
Let's take this for a ride.
Ride like the wind, but maybe don't go too fast. We're still figuring out how to 3D print Band-Aids. Hey Jane, what's up?
I'm all about personalizing my look. You see, I'm trying to make a pair of sneakers that are gonna match the color of my outfit. This thick TPU seems tricky. How do you handle a design this complex?
With my AMS, I can dry and maintain materials in optimal condition, which is crucial for TPU printing. I've got a servo motor extruder that keeps everything precise. No extrusion errors, just smooth, flawless surfaces.
All right, now let's go make some shoe soles.
With my bird's eye camera, I can sync the object to your screen, ensuring the cutting line lines up precisely. What you see is what you get. So what do you think, Jane?
These sneakers are awesome. The cutouts make them super breathable, and the edgy design is totally my style.
Timmy, what are you up to?
I'm working on my costume for a cosplay convention I'm having next month, but I'm having some trouble with the chainmail. Can you give me a hand?
I'll see what I can do.
The costume is going to need a large piece of chainmail, even bigger than the printer bed. How do I deal with these tricky supports?
Don't worry about removing support and size limitations. You can fold your chainmail design into layers, allowing you to print an extra large chainmail all at once. Watch as the supports dissolve in the water. Ready for the finishing touches on this epic armor?
But these pieces have a lot of curves. Can you still engrave on them?
See that? Even on curved surfaces, I've got it handled.
This leather will strap the whole piece together.
Looking sharp, Timmy. Don't forget who helped you crush the cosplay contest. Hey, Mrs. Johnson. What you crafting?
It's my friend's birthday tomorrow, and I'm making a butterfly lamp and a wooden birthday card.
All right, let's bring this butterfly lamp to life. We'll use my dual color nozzle to print in multiple shades.
Impressive. It switches between colors so smoothly.
For the birthday card, let's use one of your drawings as the design.
What about the laser? Is it safe?
Don't worry, the laser-proof windows keep you safe while giving a clear view inside. I've got an adaptive air system that maintains air quality while cooling and ventilating during tasks.
It's reassuring to know everything's safe while I work. Wow, it's gorgeous.
Your friend's gonna love this gift.
I think I'm gonna have to make one for myself now.
With Bamboo Lab H2D, rediscover the
you
joy
turn
of
it up.
making and turn your
So look at that lamp. Isn't that thing cool? I want one of those.
That is pretty
That
sweet.
thing is wicked. So anyway, so here's my thing here. Like this, and we actually have pitched this to a couple clients in the past. We've said like, you put one of these in your office. Our team will do the 3D modeling for you. And then you get the template and you print it. And all of a sudden now you have custom souvenirs at your property for either your VIP guests or whatever else. Like you talk about an experience that everybody's going to share all over social media. That's it right there. So like the future is here and it's now. And that kind of stuff just fascinates me that you're able to do with all that kind of stuff. All right, let's tackle, why don't we tackle let's tackle the ODNR and then we'll do the ChatGPT thing and then we'll go into our long conversation. Is that fair?
Yeah, for sure.
So you brought this to our attention. What was your idea here, Greg?
Yeah, well, I just found it interesting, and ODNR is just I'm in Ohio, so it's easy to see, but it's not just Ohio. So I did a little snooping around afterwards to see, and despite what we've all talked about, which is kind of industry-wide downturn last year, if not downturn, at least a level off, right? Like people were either flat or maybe down a little bit. And I don't know that I think we all agreed we wouldn't characterize it necessarily as correction or anything, right? But it's sort of a leveling off. It's maybe back to pre-pandemic levels, a normalization more than anything.
Yep.
Whereas public campgrounds, state campgrounds, county, state parks, they all, I shouldn't say all, but Ohio and some surrounding states experience bumps up over 2023. 2024 was actually a better year. And so that just kind of got me thinking, is that a matter of the economy, right? Because typically they are less expensive. They get public money where they can kind of offset some of the fees. And I didn't like that as a private campground owner, and I know a lot of other owners don't like it, but in a way you have to expect it, right? The tax-paying public, if they go to camp at one of these places and they're charging private rates, and they go, well, I've already paid you some of my money, tax money for you guys to build the place and run the place, I should get a lower rate. And they're not wrong. And in most cases, the state park campground customer is not the customer. It wasn't the customer that I wanted. They had a very different experience than I was offering. And I know a lot of other private park owners that are the same way. That, they're not my ideal clientele. They have a different camping experience in mind than what we're offering. But yeah, I found that really interesting that they were not flat, but up. And as far as I can tell, I didn't get any answers back. I tried to find out, but as far as I can tell, the upward trend is set to continue for them this year. But that is, as we've talked about before, that is kind of in line with what we've talked to our clients, and everybody, for one reason or another, still right now is saying that their reservations at this point in the year are up over where they were last year. So we'll see if that holds. But I did find that to be interesting, the fact that they were up. And again, could be, there was also a report, Brian, I think you sent it to me, right, about consumer sentiment.
Yeah.
Down so that is these type of budget experiences like state parks, that's only going to drive them. The biggest problem for them as businesses is that most of the time their booking platforms are awful, and they have a really big problem, and have had a really big problem with people booking everything as far out as they can and then canceling last minute, right? And you have that. And I see Scott, you shaking your head. Do you have the data on this?
Yeah, that the trip stacking, it was very common, especially during the pandemic, but people still do it. And a lot of times the states, we had that problem here in Maine as well. The cancellation policy is so forgiving that people don't care. That they'll just book these sites and just not show up. So yeah, it's interesting that last year, of course, was an election year, and we saw that the national parks had record visitation. And I don't know if anyone was paying attention, but I did an analysis that showed that national park visitation is always up in an election year. I tracked it since 1960, and every election year it's up over the previous year and the year after. So
just because of uncertainty, like we said about before.
Yeah.
So that means that we should have another banner year this year.
And that may be driving some of this. It's when people are uncomfortable, for some reason, like the national state parks they're kind of like a warm hug, you know. They people enjoy those places, those experiences. State parks are typically a little bit more rustic, like you mentioned, a little less expensive, and they're kind of like, they fulfill in many cases their mission, which is, they're for everyone. And so I think in some respects that it's not that surprising that was up, but good thing. I mean, I'm glad people are going camping. That's the bottom line.
Yes. Yeah. No matter where they go.
It's interesting to me. Like, I wonder, we had this huge bump over the pandemic period of more people going camping, and we have like almost all the talk that I heard during that period was more people were buying RVs, which is obviously true. And more people were traveling then, which is obviously true. But there must have been a surge in tent campers and a surge in glampers and a surge of people who were friends with somebody who already had an RV, who wanted to tag along, right?
Yep.
And so I wonder how many of those people now are like not able to, or sold their RV maybe, right? Because they got out of that bubble. They realized they didn't want to keep one forever, but they still enjoyed the experience, right? Or they, are one of those tent campers or those glampers or those people who experienced it with their friends or whatever else, and now want to continue doing so, but either aren't as plugged into the private campground network, or perhaps, I don't know, I don't want to say didn't enjoy that experience, but either prefer or the state park, feel like the state park, national park is more accessible to them as a campground or as a campground, and then the budgetary thing too. And so I wonder if part of that surge that we're seeing and potentially will see into 2025 and beyond in those locations is due to that.
It could be. We saw in the peak of COVID, tent camping was much higher. It was the highest incidence it had been in years. So there are a lot of those people out there. So I think we might be seeing some of that come back. I mean, tent camping is traditionally been the most popular camping accommodation. So it's because, again, like you said, it's accessible.
It was like 50 to 60%, wasn't it, of bookings are camping
nights
versus like, I think it's 25% is held steady. I read this somewhere, like I feel like today or yesterday, 25% are RVs.
Yeah.
And like the rest are glamping, but it used to be like 70% tent camping years ago. And now like they feel some of that's peeled off into glamping.
Some of it has, because people don't want to buy
the DOA report. I was reading something like that.
Yeah. It's I think we may see a resurgence in tent camping. I think we might see that again, because it's so accessible. You can go get a tent and some sleeping bags, a couple of sleeping pads for pretty short money, really.
But if you think about all the people, and we're going to talk about this later about Gen Z or the hesitant traveler who's never experienced camping, if you want to bring those people into your park and that that's accessible and an affordable option don't let their first experience be like, either one, I'm never coming because I don't have the bandwidth or the capacity or the time or the patience to go to REI or Walmart or wherever else and figure out what the I need to survive. Is there bears? Is there not bears? Like, how do I start a fire? Like, put together that luxury tent camping experience like on a nice pad and give them all the equipment they need and then charge them appropriately to make your money back from it. But let them just come in and spend the night.
Yep. I'm a kind of a believer too that the more people have a good, comfortable outdoor experience, that includes just kind of what you were saying, Brian, the more attached they get to camping.
And we just want
More
them
likely they'll
attached to
continue.
camping. Like yes, of course we want people to buy RVs, but like I just want them in the campgrounds. I don't
Correct.
care how they stay.
Yeah.
So this whole idea that we have to have tent campers convert to RVers is bullshit. Some of them, sure. But especially in a down economy, let's just have them enjoy their experience. And if they want to be tent campers for 4 years, great, we'll take their money. Right?
And in the past, naturally, some people, as they get older, they want more comfort. As the gentleman who invented the pop-up trailer said, that what motivated him to invent it was he was sick of sleeping on the ground because he got older. You know, he just wanted to get off the ground, and that happens. So sometimes it's natural, sometimes it isn't. There's a lot of boomers out there who are still camping in tents. They came back. They were kind of the original backpackers and wilderness campers. So, it's there. And again, I agree. We should embrace them, bring them in. They're in your
it's
campground.
tailoring that experience to those people, right? Like, and this is what we were talking about with state parks, where I was briefly before we started the show. It's understanding what the guest wants. And there are so many different types of guests. And this will actually transition in a second nicely to like just the amount of ability you have to research this when we talk about the AI image gen in a second. But like just thinking about there's so many stereotypical things that we talked about on the show before. I don't want to let car campers in, 11-year-old rigs, blah, 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 blah. A lot of it is valid. Some of it isn't. I think it's just you need to think outside the box. You need to look at like your view of what camping should be is not always the view of every consumer who has the willingness to stay at your campground. And if you, like I posted on LinkedIn, this is how this whole thing came to my attention. And then Greg, you mentioned something about the state parks too. I posted on LinkedIn about putting glow in the dark, like site markers or whatever, just so people can see like solar charged glow in the dark night. And it was actually my AI who posted that. So I read it for the first time this morning too. My AI agent. I still post most of the stuff on there, or not most of the stuff. Some of the stuff I post on there. You can tell the difference between me, can't you, Greg?
Yeah.
When I post,
yeah, for sure.
But like it posted on there the glow in the dark stuff, and then I think the CEO of Let's Camp, who's a reservation software company up here in Canada, commented and said like, well, we need to make sure that traditional camping doesn't stray too far away. And I'm like, yes, I agree with you, man. Like for sure, that's my preferred type of camping. But also, like, if we're talking about Gen Zers or millennials or people who like more comfort or whatever else, then like whatever your market is, go after that market. And if you have a market that can be split 4 or 6 different ways, then split it 4 or 6 different ways. If you want to offer just a tent that they can rent from your store and go set up themselves because they're more rustic, then do that. If it's an audience that wants it set up and has comfort, then let them do that. If they want a tech experience, then have that. If they have a bad back, then put a cot in there and offer a little bit more comfort, right? Like, but just the ability of you to pivot. And the same thing, I think what were we talking about state parks in this? We were talking about right before the show started. We were talking about state parks and how they were building the accommodations that compete with the private campgrounds.
Yes. Yeah.
And you were saying like a lot of the people want it to go back to the way it was, which is a valid argument. They're not wrong, but also they're also not right for the other person who maybe wants the more modern experience. And so that's a whole nother animal, right, that we're not going to dive into. But the state park governmental associations, just like private campground owners, need to figure out like, what is the balance between my guests? And can I bring new people into a state park experience to go camping in more luxury while balancing the nature? Because my ultimate goal here is to get them to stay outdoors and see what it makes ODNR, for example, so beautiful, if it's my rivers and my birds and my lakes and my whatever, right?
Yep.
And so there's
Absolutely.
that balance. Thoughts before I flip to like how I think you should reach all those people, or no?
Scott, you got anything? I didn't want to talk over. I never know when to start or when to. We need to have hand
You just
signals.
start. You just
I
talk.
would just barge in.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, what you mentioned was Brian, was something I was mentioning before we got on. Yeah, it was a survey that ODNR did a number of years ago, and they found that in general, the camping public wanted state parks to stay rustic, because most of the private parks now either shy away from tent campers or just completely choose not to
Or them,
engage
yeah.
with them at all. They have this bad moniker that they're gonna, they take up all this space, or they're messy or something. I don't believe in that at all. I'm a tent camper, car camper, backpacker.
There are
But
bad RVers, there are bad tent campers, there are bad
absolutely,
glampers.
absolutely. So the point was that the survey respondents said, all these luxury sites, full hookup sites, those are available. The private sector's doing that. We don't need you guys to do that. We want you to go back to giving us tent camping. And but I think they see that the other, the full hookup sites are profitable, so they kind of continued along with them. But they're not to say that there aren't still state park campgrounds that are built around that more rustic experience
Yeah.
still. They are trying to balance it. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. It'll be interesting to see where the bookings go this year for public versus private parks.
There's just. Do you have anything to add, Scott?
No.
Yeah, there's just going to need to be a shift here, right? And it's not just a shift with what we're talking about. It's a shift when you look overall at like we deal with some very large organizations that own 20, 30, 40, 50 campgrounds, right?
Mm-hmm.
On the marketing side of Insider Perks. And like independent, inclusive of those, but also like mostly with the people who aren't talking to us, there's this sense of like, you look at brand, like everything has to be on brand. This is such an old school mentality that comes from the 90s, right? Like everything has to be perfect. It has to have the same font and the same colors and the same name and the same everything, right? Like the first thing you do and I don't have many of these conversations with my clients, to be honest, because we don't do a lot of the branding. Like for the bigger organizations, we're working with a CMO. We're doing maybe the tech side of things, the website, the analytics, and then they have a CMO that's focusing on the overall picture of the brand. And they're doing great jobs, right? Both with the people we work with and lots of the people who we don't work with are doing excellent jobs. But if you just go to your Instagram and you look up your property and you see all the people talking about you on Instagram who aren't fucking on brand, like they're not using your fonts, they're not using your photos, they're not using your colors, but they're sure as heck getting you a bunch of people into your campground. That is literally the answer to like, yes, sort of pay attention to your brand and make it presentable and nice, but stop obsessing over your brand, because the brand that you have in your head is probably researched and scientifically like looked at and calculated with either an AI like we've done in the past, right? Or research data or surveys or things like that, right? Or talking to your existing customers. The problem is that brand still only suits one type of traveler, the type of traveler that you've carefully curated out of your research. And whether you're looking at state parks or you're looking at private campgrounds or what the age demographic or Gen Z that we're going to look at later, all those type of people are different. They want to be, and it's not just an amenity thing. It's how does your advertising look? What does your font look like? Are there people in the photos or not people in the photos? Are they old or young? Are they black or white? Are they right? And so you need to be able to create, yes, a brand for sure that is consistent, but you need to be able to take that brand and speak to a much wider audience in 2025 than you did before. And if you're spending your time obsessed with fonts and what picture is in the perfect pose, you're going to eliminate 75% of your audience just by doing that. And you may still be successful, but you're eliminating 75% of your potential audience. And in an area where the economy is going down, like that's a problem. Thoughts? Agree? Disagree? Don't disagree?
No, I agree. The brand stuff. I'm the research guy. I just measure brand awareness and
just brand measure. Okay.
So I help people develop their brands. I mean, that's part of what I do. We look at it. We look at the power of the brand sometimes. Does it impact people? Sometimes it does. Again, before we get, when we were talking earlier about decision making, does the brand enter into how someone makes a decision? It can.
Yeah.
It can.
I'm not necessarily saying it shouldn't, but also, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say it's part of the equation, depending on what you put behind it.
Yeah, the brand can't be an empty brand.
No.
It has to have an experience or a reason behind it, and that's the piece that a lot of these CMOs do very well, assuming they're working with, like, most of them are working with good ownership who are willing to let them do that, right? So they're crafting that entire experience. That all is done well. I'm not criticizing the act of them doing that, because they put together really good campaigns and really good thought leadership and really good data. But also, like, you're missing 75% of your market. And in the past, the limiter to that, I think, beyond the ability to see that, which is, I think, mostly present in, I don't want to say older marketers, but people who've been doing the job for a long time, right? Is the ability for you to scale that creative. Like, you have limited teams, right? So let's say you want to create a video of one of your resorts and you want that video to speak to 4 to 6 different types of audiences. Well, that means you have to have 4 to 6 times the amount of time spent editing that video and worrying about the shots and figuring out how they're going to be spoken to. But now with AI, it's completely different. It's totally different. Your copy is super easy, right?
Yeah.
Your video is harder, but if you're hiring a videographer to go to your resort anyway, the biggest expense is getting him there and his time spent. So add an extra hour and do some different takes on different shots. And I don't know what that looks like. It's different for every property, right? But whether it's different coats or a couple, some people look like luxury travelers, some people look like budget travelers, some people look like family travelers. There's shots with kids, there's shot without kids. You can take the same amount of actors, mom and dad, and shoot with their kids and then push the kids out of the way. Not literally, be nice to the kids, give them cookies or something. But like, then the mom and the dad are a romantic couple. And it's the same actors and the same thing, right? Or whatever it is, or they can be best friends, or, there's so many different types of ways to do that. So that part is easy, not easy. That part is not as hard as you think it is, because if you're shooting the video with a professional who's on site, they're already there. All they have to do is adjust some different thoughts, but you have to put some thought into what those shots are before they get there. So you make your time as efficient as possible, create a shot sheet for them, understand what you want to capture, and then go edit the video later. And so that saves you a bunch of time. There's AI video editor tools that are coming out. You can speed up your workflow. They're not ready to replace humans yet, but I think that's coming very, very fast. So you've got the copy, you've got the video done if you're making a video, right? And then you look at the graphics. So this is what we're going to talk about today. So you guys have not seen this yet, I don't think. If you do, good on you. It just came out yesterday. So we've long talked about, and I think we've shared on the show, well, for sure, we've looked at like the birds, right, that have that Greg's called out, that are interesting creations. But like, if in the beginning, I think the first show, what was I can't remember the bird we were talking about, but it was a real bird before we started
the parakeet. Yeah.
Before
we started making that.
And his feet were off, or his toes were off, or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's always been the issue with image generation. Either it looks too cartoony, or it's just a little bit fake, or the fingers are fucked up, or the face around the campfire is like, what am I looking at? It's like a horror show from Chainsaw Massacre, or something, right? So it's been like, if you know how to prompt it, it's been good, and you can get some really good images out of it. But it's always been a struggle. And don't even talk about like putting text in an image or creating a graphic or anything like that, right? It's just never going to happen. It's going to be garbled or whatever else. All that changed yesterday. If you are a graphic designer whose only skill is the ability to go to Canva and use templates, which I don't know what the percentage is, but I'm betting it's greater than 50% of graphic designers out there. If you're like, and this is not all of them, right? Like, there are a lot of people who are really good thought leaders who put together brand packages and plans, and that's different. I'm not talking about that. But if you're just a graphic designer who cookie cuts with Canva, which is a large majority of the people, and it's not that they're incapable of doing something different, it's because that's what they've had to do with social media for the last 10 to 15 years, is churn out those graphics super quick. You are dead. Literally, you are dead unless you can learn how to use this technology. So I know that's a strong statement. I know I could talk about this forever. Lisa, share my screen over here. we're going to talk about this for a second, and we're going to show you some examples here. So, like, you guys have you played with at least Dolly in here at some point? I know, Greg, you probably have.
Yep.
Scott, have you had it generate an image?
Haven't. Honestly, I haven't really.
Okay, that's all right. But you've seen AI image generation before, right?
Absolutely. In fact, our webpage now has a little video on it that one of my team created and posted just today. So
okay. All right. So we're going to look at this. We're going to look at this real quick. Let me get that bigger. All right. So this is what you're about to see is the new image generator, but we're going to do something fun. We're going to do, so let's say generate me a sticker. We'll do a sticker, a transparent image of a boy fishing by the lake. Okay. So like, let's just for comparison, I wish I had another image generator up here. Let me see if there's something I can log into real quick. Let me think. Ideogram, I think. If I can log in with my Google account, we'll do this. If I can't, then we'll go somewhere else. Or we'll just skip this piece of it. Yeah, continue with Google. All right. This is like the only account I have signed in on this computer. So, all right. So we're going to describe what we want to see. Apparently Ideogram 3.0 has come out in the day since I signed into this. So I haven't tested Ideogram 3.0, which may or may not put me to shame, but I bet you for sure is a reaction to what I'm about to show you. So we'll try our new most advanced model. We're doing this in real time. You can see how fast, like I was in this yesterday. It was not here. So we'll generate me a sticker. This is crazy how fast this stuff moves. So we'll see how this goes. You can see this is a funny Star Wars robot that I generated for a meme the other day. But this is pretty quick. I think maybe 3.0 is taking a little bit longer. And so then you can see, like, I'm asking for a sticker, a transparent image of a boy fishing by a lake. And then you get your result here, and you can see, like, we have some pretty good images. It's not, like, really a sticker, right? But it's an image of a boy fishing by a lake. It looks pretty good. The details are a little bit different. There's some fish there that kind of look, I don't know if they're underwater or overwater, but they're there. And then, so these are good cartoonish images, right? But they're not really stickers, and you can't really do anything with it afterward. Like, you could try to edit it, you could do whatever. So now let's go over here and do the same exact thing inside here. And this is the new image gen. This is going to take a minute to generate, okay? Because it takes longer. But it's actually using GPT-4o, the chat model, to understand the language and intent behind what you're asking for. And then instead of just popping something into existence, it's actually thinking about what you want in the image and then generating you the exact image that it believes that you want. And so this is going to take a minute to generate, but you're going to clearly see the difference in this as soon as it does it. So it's going to go from top to bottom. So you can already see at the top here, what do we have? The edge of a sticker, right? So it knows that you want a sticker already. It's got your transparent background behind it here, and you can actually download it that way. And then you have your boy with a hat, and you can see, like, it's cut out around the fishing areas and all that kind of stuff, right? And it's the same kind of cartoony image, but it's clearly a sticker. And it's clearly, like, it's higher quality, I would say. Like, so you have a transparent image, you can download it and send it to your printer, and now here's where it gets interesting, right? So great, but I want the top of the bobber to be green. I want the boy's shoes to be red. I want his hat to be purple, and I want a bass jumping out of the water behind him. And you can actually edit this photo. It will take what you learn just in your conversations, so just like you've had conversations with ChatGPT in the past, and it will remember what you've said above. It will actually remember what photo you had before. And not only that, you'll see here, it will actually, in most cases, keep your character completely consistent. So it won't be a different boy. So kind of like here where we went to Ideogram, and we didn't ask it. This is not a really fair comparison, right? But, like, see how the boys are different boys? different here. One has a cap, whatever else. They're different images, so it's not really a comparison. But that's traditionally how you would struggle with it. Is you would look with, you couldn't get consistent characters, you couldn't tell a story, all that kind of stuff. And so now you can see we've got here's our bash jumping out of the water with a little water beneath it. The boy has a purple hat. So we set up here, we want him to have a purple hat. And then he's got, what else did I say? Shoes to be red and the top of the bobber to be green. So we'll see if that works here. Shoes to be red and the top of the bobber to be green. And you can keep going down. Like, it will understand and it will do these long form prompts for you. So that's number one. Then one more example. Generate me an infographic that talks about the important statistics for a campground owner to know if they are dealing with a potentially down economy and state parks are competing with them for guests. Make it clear and easily digestible. And at the bottom, say, provided by Greg Emmert Consulting, Inc. And she don't have a name yet, Greg. I like Greg Emmert Consulting. That's catchy. I have a trademark on that, so I want you to know, just in case you choose that.
Yeah, I don't think
already got the URL. Sorry, Greg.
Oh man, I was just gonna say I don't think anybody's clamoring for that URL, but I was wrong. See, I might not be a great consultant. I can't judge market demand for shit. These guys already grabbed it up, and yeah.
I forgot Scott does need to jump in 10 minutes. We're gonna have a data discussion without Scott.
How are we gonna do that?
I think that's all right. I think that's all right.
What's the data on that say, Scott? Because I don't think Brian and I talking data without the data guy is going to go so well. But
no, I actually think it's good. I think it's good because you guys will. What it does is it helps you get creative. Maybe you shouldn't. No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
But
it'll be a lot of I think it'll be a lot of data, but you can grade us later on and let us know how we did.
Okay, so see this?
Yeah.
You see any spelling mistakes yet?
No, and that's really so. This is a really big step up because anytime I've
this
tried,
is massive.
Yeah, and one of the biggest problems I've had is trying to generate maybe some graphics for a client, and I'm describing, I want this tree house on this lake, and I get really detailed, and it gets most of it right, and I say, well, you got this one part wrong, change that, and it changes the entire image. The entire image is changed. It's a different location. It's not anywhere. And I say, no, just fix this one thing. And I get a third image that's completely different from the other two. This is a big step up.
This is huge.
And because then you could take your, obviously the AI went out and found these stats, but
you can tell it. Is like we did this separately. We did
for me, I could feed in my own stats.
Yes.
They create the infographic from there, and it's done within however long that just took, Brian. It's like that to me is a tool, like for what I do, that we spend, and I'm saying this for everyone else's benefit too. It's like you can spend a lot of time creating these things, and even if you are that template user in Canva, it's still it's kind of cumbersome to do versus being able to generate several of these and then have it for example, one, and I'll announce it here. It's not a big announcement, by the way, but I was just thinking of doing kind of a social media post where a statistic of the day, just something interesting, to get some information out there. This would be like the perfect way for me to do that because it can be done so quickly and easily, and I can generate that because I have the ideas of what I want, but it's like, anyway, I'm just spouting off. I'm going to try to dominate the conversation in my last 5-6 minutes.
No, you're right.
You should.
No, but
I'm out.
No,
I'm going to give Scott, you have the floor.
This to me is, and again, anyone out there who has any kind of data. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, whenever it was, about campground owners having their own information. A campground owner could take their camper information and create an infographic from it and say, just tell the AI, create an infographic for me that tells, that communicates, we get X% of our guests give us 5-star reviews, that we X% love tell us that they love our tent sites. There's a few of those that you could use. The average stay at our campground is this, or you know what I mean? There's a bunch that you could do, and there's some people out there looking at the campground data, but I'm just saying that as an example of something that a campground owner could do and kind of bring some of this alive. Use your data, use the data that's available, maybe compare your campground to some national stuff, and then tell it to create this image and now put it out in your social media. If you're doing Facebook posts, or you're doing something on your website or whatever, use these images like this. I mean, I'm actually really excited about this, if you can't tell, because it's a little bit of a game changer for people like me, who like to create more engaging content, that isn't really dense. The dense stuff we'll share, we all know the people who want the dense stuff. We're on this podcast right now, but the idea that the general public kind of needs, stuff that's a little bit more digestible and understandable for them.
And you can do it. You can do it on brand though. Like, look at that. This is a 10-second example, right? Yeah. I just took the Camp Vantage logo and put it here, like attached. We were just playing around with it earlier. Wrap my brand, my logo, and so it created I created a whole prompt, and that's what, like, it's not exactly, but like in a 10-second experiment. Like, again, like, so you can make it, like, you can easily make it on brand if you take the part of that. And then look at this. Create a tall infographic, name this. Here, use these hex codes of these colors in this area next to each stat. And here's your example of here's your data. Use this data. And then it gave the green and the line and the icons and the exact data and everything else and pulled into it.
Perfect. Yeah. Yep.
That's
so
awesome.
This is like, I'm sorry to be the one to perhaps break the news to you, but like, if you're just a graphic designer who creates this shit, you are dead. You need to immediately go learn how to do this, because the again, not all graphic designers, but like, of the group of people who know Canva and who just do this for a living for social media, there will be about 30%, 20 to 30% of you who will survive, maybe a little bit less than that, because you learn how to use tools like this, and you can do 1,000 times the speed of work and quality, maybe not quality, but 1,000 times the speed of work that you could do before by using these tools. And you'll put the other 80% of the graphic designers who refuse to learn AI for principled reasons, or it doesn't work, or it hallucinate, or whatever story they tell themselves, they're dead. I don't know what else to tell you. I'm sorry if you're upset by me saying that, but that is fact. Look at it. So anyway, so that's my thing there. At least we can go back here. Scott, is there anything you want to say before we kind of wrap up, or anything you want to touch base on, like, before you have to go?
I in looking at the the kind of what you're going to talk about a little bit here with the campground design, and kind of looking at that, look forward for campgrounds. I think this is an incredibly important conversation to have. And Greg knows more about campgrounds than I do and how they work, but it's a conversation that everybody should be having if you're a campground owner. Is what is that look ahead? But really importantly, like, how do you bring some more of these folks in? How do we get the younger people to participate? And because we all know, when you go camping, you get hooked on it. You do. You get outdoors. It's the problem is overcoming that first barrier. And so these conversations, I know several years ago we did this. We actually did a bunch of research on Campground of the Future. It was really interesting. And
I remember that with KOA.
Yeah. Yep. And they actually had a booth set up at one of the shows.
For RVIA or something, or RVDA convention or something like that.
It was RVIA. There's Mark Kep was part of that too. Mm-hmm. And it was just kind of interesting because it was based on just kind of some wild ideas and thinking, how should this work? But things have changed just since we did that.
Oh my God! Yes.
Research,
but still some of it's relevant.
It is, and how the AI is going out there and using the information and offering recommendations. It's kind of some, honestly, I don't know how else to say it, but some creative ideas kind of came out that you guys will talk about. But how do you overcome those barriers? How do you overcome that? How do you, and what's feasible? How do you do that? I think these conversations are ones that, when people go to all these conferences, the campground owner conferences, and they go to these workshops. These are the questions that people should be asking. These are the things that we should be talking about a lot more. Some of the stuff is kind of, we've been through it all, but let's now actually, have this conversation, because this is about the future, and a lot of it is happening right now. So
I don't want to beat a dead horse, but that requires, new speakers at conferences.
It does. It requires people other than me, who goes to all these conferences.
Yeah, I don't know about that, because the data is relevant to what we're talking about, right?
It is. I know. I'm being somewhat facetious, but by the same token, it's like I do talk at a lot of these conferences and stuff, and I do want some other people to talk about some of these things, to maybe take some of the information, and it's like, maybe they come out and I say, here's what we got. What do you think? It's like maybe get some new thinking involved as well. Just get some different perspectives in there. That's why I've tried to get some young people to work with me. And they always see things a little differently, which is great. So, but gentlemen, enjoy the rest. I'll be watching when I get back. And
where are you going? You're going to like a town hall meeting with something for your city?
Yeah.
Local. Yeah. What's the biggest issue on the plate for the agenda?
The removal of a dam, a tiny little dam.
Like a foot tall, like Beaver Dam, or like
it's just a few feet tall. Yeah, it's at an outlet.
What's the argument for and against, real quick, and then you can go.
Just in kind of the environmental impact. There's a wetland that's been created and so on. So it's in Maine, we have so many old dams. Like, they're out in the middle of nowhere, and a lot of times they're hazardous, but they've also created a new ecosystem. And as a birder, Greg, that the birds move in and they kind of make it cool. So it's a good discussion. It's a good conversation.
And how are you going to vote?
I'm not going to say.
Oh, you can't divulge. Why give up the power of the secret ballot?
No.
That's the power that the secret ballot holds. Never relinquish that.
Don't do it. Plus, I could be lying to you. So
that's right.
Could be. Otherwise, we're just going to assume and talk about, like, I'm just going to assume you want to murder all the marshes and birds and ecosystems if you don't tell us the truth.
But he might want the Lowhead Dam removed to promote better fish migration upstream. It's not always necessarily bad. You never know.
I mean, you can take anything into ChatGPT and spin it into a good argument now. So.
That's right.
See my coffee mug?
Yeah, that's a beauty there.
I think about the fish.
All right, Scott.
All right, guys.
Appreciate you. We'll see you next week.
Great talking to you. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so let's pivot here and talk about like our main topic of the story here. And we have a lot of data to kind of and thought leadership to back up this stuff. I think our goal here was actually Scott's idea, so I didn't know he had to bail until earlier. But we were talking about like the hesitant camper and the hesitant traveler first. So we're going to talk about Gen Z in a second, but just the hesitant traveler of the person who, well, share my screen real quick, Lisa. So the hesitant traveler who's like the leisure traveler who thinks that they don't have any interest in camping, right? So how do you define this person, Greg?
Oh, this is that person who wants to dip a toe, right? But they're not.
Or maybe doesn't even want to dip a toe. Maybe they're just not even looking at camping as an option, right?
Yeah, right.
This is really good poutine, by the way. I'm having another thing.
Yeah, every time you say that, I expect to see gravy and fries. I don't know why. If it's
poutine.
I know.
Poutine.
That's what it rings out as. I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know. How would you define these people? They're at this point they're the late adopter, right? They're definitely.
I don't even know about that, right? Because we always like to say people are late adopters, but then that goes into the mindset of like us in the industry. We think everybody should be camping because the outdoors is great. And of course it is, but like that's not the way they view it, right?
Yeah, these could be inner city folks who everything outdoors is just scary as hell. They're gonna get poison ivy or eaten by carried away by rogue giant mosquitoes. They could be just frightened as hell by everything outside.
Have you
right?
seen people get carried away by giant mosquitoes?
Pretty darn close. I could share some photos with you, some situations I've been in.
I can
and,
share some photos too while you talk. I'll
they're
share
they're they're crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, to your point, these are those folks that maybe it's just absolutely frightening to them, or they have no interest. They think everything great is located in a city. I want to be able to call an Uber or walk to a restaurant or a bar, and they're just, for whatever reason, they're not into it. And you're right. For me, they're late adopters. But I mean, I was raised outside. I played outside. I wanted to be outside, and that's a part of my being. But that's not the case with everybody. So you're right. That was a little short-sighted of me.
No, but it's understandable. Like we all look at that through that lens, right? Unless you're talking about it and I'm sitting here listening and I think to provide the commentary, I also have my own biases, right? We all do. It's human nature
Absolutely.
to look at it through the lens of your life experiences. But
Yeah.
that's I think honestly the most powerful thing of AI is to be able to talk to something that's unbiased and get the different perspectives. One of the very first things we did years ago with AI, when it first came out, ChatGPT 3.5, well, not AI, but when ChatGPT first came out, right?
Yep.
Was everybody was like, we were teaching people in the beginning, we're like, go browse my website and teach me the things that could make it better. And it would go browse the website, it would come back and would spit out whatever, right? And one of the first things we said to clients is like, well, rethink this. Like, go to this and say, like, what are the top 5 reasons that people would not want to stay at my campground? And nobody thinks to ask the reverse, right?
Mm-hmm.
Put yourself in the shoes of the person who thinks my website is terrible and that looks ugly. And so how do I then reach those people?
Yep.
And that's an interesting, kind of concept there. Your giant
It
mosquito
is.
coming, by the
And
way.
that's honestly, to your point, that is one of the things about AI that I have really enjoyed using, is telling it, this is my point of view. I want you from a completely different perspective. And I'm not telling it what the perspective is. You come up with the perspective, or take on, as you did, you built a focus group essentially. You said, okay, we're going to build these personas. Okay, well, I want you to take on a dozen different personas, and all of them are contrary to my opinion. Tell me what they're gonna come back at me with, right? When I make my case, what are they going to push back with? And it's really enlightening. And it's not, you can never replace human emotion. You'll never figure out how a human's really gonna think. But if nothing else, it gets your brain
Are you
working
sure?
outside. Yeah, I'm sure you're not going to replace human emotion. Like, humans are fickle and they'll change their mind just to change their mind.
Okay,
So,
human emotion, I agree with.
yeah,
Human
and
emotion piece, I agree with.
that's like,
For now,
that's
asterisks. Maybe
that's
in a
half the
month I'll
reason,
change my
maybe
mind.
more. I don't know the psychology behind it, but that's the reason we make choices. We do it based on emotion so much of the time. There's wants and needs kind of thing, right? Okay, if I go to the grocery store, I got a list. I know I need to buy cereal and milk and eggs and bacon, whatever it is. But then there's the want things. And if you're trying to figure out what a person wants, that could change with the way the wind blows. What did their mood do? To try to forecast
but I
a
also
human on
think
a
you could.
synaptic level is just really hard.
I'm actually going to change my mind because we've done this before, and I think we could do this with AI right now. You could simulate emotion. Like if you knew the mindset of the person or the potential 100 different mindsets that they have, right? You could say, like, put me in the mindset of a single mom who has a lot of anxiety over her finances and has fragile emotions and like really wants to go camping emotionally and loves that, but also hates leaving her children alone with a babysitter to go have a romantic weekend. How would she emotionally react to different situations? Don't break this character for any reason. We'll actually do this with a board of directors thing later if we get to it. Don't break your character for any reason whatsoever and respond exactly as that woman would. And I think you can simulate human emotion really well.
Maybe, but there could be a
10,000 different variables.
limitlessly,
For
I was going
sure.
to say almost
Of course.
limitless variations of
But
that.
then you're never going to know that by talking to a human either, because that's just one of 10,000 possible outcomes.
Sure.
And talking to them influence the outcome.
Yes, correct. Which is what you can't account for that. Like it's just not possible. I like the graphic, by the way. That definitely reminds me of Inirida, Colombia,
But
where I was.
that's very good, right? Like it's
It is.
actually it started generating and I looked at it and I saw that the mosquitoes were not actually like quote carrying him, but they really can't. They don't have hands, right? So
Yeah,
they
but
sort of are. And
they
so I
are.
was expecting him to be on the ground and he's actually like he's being
He's
carried away. He's off
in
the
the air.
ground. Like
Yeah. No, that is an incredible step up for anybody who's never tried this. If you're watching, that might seem fairly simple, but that is an amazing jump forward in what GPT could do compared to just even a few days ago. Like that is
yeah.
that's pretty outstanding.
And they've been working on that for a year, by the way, is what they said in the announcement
Wow.
video. So all right, so we ran this report on hesitant campers, right? And so we said, below, well, here, let's look at the research report first. So we have this research report. I actually haven't read the entire thing yet, but a conceptual report to inspire a new area for hospitality, understanding Gen Z and hesitant campers. We'll talk about Gen Z in a minute. I just want to see if there's anything in here about hesitant campers specifically. I guess we'll just go through this. So 85% say traveling to new places is important to their well-being. I agree with this. So, and obviously we don't want to start like talk about every single bullet point in here, right?
Right.
But just generally speaking, I identify with this. Like my girlfriend loves to go to walks around the parks and go around the block to the dog park and take the dog for a walk. And like, I don't mind walking. I'm not unhealthy. Like, but what I really like love to do is go somewhere different that I've never been before. And because of the way my mind works, I get bored quickly. I don't want to see the same block. I don't want to see the same park. You want to take me to a different park? Great. I want to see something new, even if it's just trees or birds or a waterfall or a river or the green grass or like and that's just the consequence of maybe it's a broken brain, right? But I need to learn and see and do and experience something new.
Just the amount of stimulation you require. And everybody's got different levels of that. I'm stimulated by both. I like to go to the same place, see if I can find the little differences or find my favorite places, right? Because that brings me joy. But going to someplace new, that's another level of stimulation and input. It's great. I get it.
So 85% of say traveling to new places is important to well-being. Now here's the thing. If you're a private campground owner, that's okay. Don't look at the statistic and say, oh my God, they're going to come stay with me one night and then it's over.
That's right.
No, create and curate different experiences. This is your themed weekends. This is your activities. This is your neighborhoods that we've seen some resorts do within your campground where Conestoga wagons are over here and tents are over here and RV sites are over there and cabins are over here, right?
Yep. And that's a really great point, what you just said about themed weekends. I've never really thought about the special sauce about why people like them other than it gives them an excuse to, if you're a Jimmy Buffett fan, I get to put on my shirt and drink a bunch of beer, listen to Buffett music on Parrot Head weekend or traveling to new places. It kind of makes your place, the same old campground, a new place each time. Yep. That's really insightful. That's interesting and never thought about that.
Brand, like you have to put something behind it. You can't just call it Jimmy Buffett weekend and expect people to show up with their shirts and that's it.
And not to get sued because you will, but you need you need to come up with a better name. But yes, you've got to come up with a full experience based around it.
Jimmy B's buffet weekend. That's right. I didn't even need AI to come up with that. I'm not sure that's a good idea.
You're flying solo today.
Yeah. I mean, I should probably go back to AI. But yeah, that's like, so think about how you can differentiate your park and make it different, right? Like curate it to the different audiences. Budget conscious, but will pay for upgrades that enhance comfort. Gen Z also shows rising eco-consciousness. Barriers to camping, perceived discomfort, bugs, cold, and dirt. Like a lot of people will look at this like the traditional camping, right?
Yep.
And they'll be like, well, put your big boy pants on. Stop being so soft. Like it's just a few bugs. It's just a little bit of cold. It's just a little bit of dirt, right? And that's not an unfair perspective. Maybe they are soft. Okay? Like maybe they are.
But you still got to meet them where they are. You still got to get over that, right?
Where they are, right?
Reality. So
stop judging people and saying like, I am happy to take your money because I'm a business and a private campground owner. So let me just, I don't know, create. It doesn't take that much work to sweep cobwebs out of the corner. Like we used to do this all the time when I was building my business and bootstrapping it. We used to go to all kinds of campgrounds who just were nice campgrounds. And you could tell the owner cared, but we would go in the cabins and there'd be cobwebs in the corner or like an old pair of somebody's underwear under the couch that the housekeeper missed.
Yeah.
Like, just like it doesn't take much to create the no bugs, no dirt environment. The answer is not like, we'll just deal with it. You're outside.
Correct.
Okay. But
Yeah,
like,
because legitimately for some people, those aren't just things that they don't like or despise. So for some people, that's straight up fear that you've got to figure out how to overcome that. They might be legitimately scared of bugs. Okay, well, you can't tell them there's none at your campground. So how do you get around that? You get rid of the spider webs. You get rid of the, in some cases,
right.
the
Like,
underpants.
I'm not
that you
scared
found
of
under-
spiders.
I don't know where
I
you
sure
went that you
as fuck
found
don't want to see
underpants.
one in the corner of my room because my eye is going to be on it and distracted.
Yeah.
Like, you're cool, spider, if you stay there, but don't fucking come near me. You better not, right? Like, I don't want you anywhere near me. I'm not afraid of you, but I also don't want to welcome you onto my head to crawl
Yeah.
all over, right?
Right.
Like, so if it's there in the corner, then all of a sudden I'm distracted from my good camping experience.
Yeah.
And I may still have a
Absolutely.
good experience with you, but I'm going to half the time be like schizophrenic, or I don't know what the right word is, right? Like looking back and forth,
Absolutely.
anxious between the wall.
And
Yeah,
that's where
paranoid. Lisa said paranoid.
I'm like, yeah, yes, that's it. Good one, Lisa. And I'm looking down at your opportunities there, right underneath the barriers, and
Oh, yeah.
that's the way you can get to it, right? How much can we customize your roughing it? How much can we use tech and aesthetics and community to bridge that? How much can I make you feel like you're experiencing nature, but you're still in a safe place? The spiders aren't in the cabin; they're outside,
Yeah,
right?
what were we
And maybe
looking
they're
at?
not outside with you all the time. They're definitely not inside.
It wasn't you guys. We were looking at this. So on the AI Brian Searle that I created that posts on my LinkedIn, we have I created a comedic take, and I don't know if it's ever actually made it to a post. I refined it on Sunday, so it'll be interesting to see. But I just refined it, and it creates like a funny, sarcastic stand-up comedy style, like take on something to
Saw
do
that.
with like a
Yeah.
crazy thing. Did it post
Yeah.
one on my thing or no?
I thought I saw one. Yeah.
I got to go back and look at it then. I just recently revamped it. But anyway, they're super funny, and they're talking about stuff like like this sometimes, like where they talk about, and I won't do it justice, but something about the fact that, like, camping is, and one of the ones they were talking about was RVing, and he was just joking about, like, I say he, the AI was joking, and it was quite humorous about, like, going camping for the first time and driving past these people in their luxury RVs who are super isolated from nature, but say they love sitting in the outdoors, but they're inside their luxury RV, locked up with their 52-inch big screen TV and their comfortable couch, right? But they're all isolated, and they're like looking at me with their judgmental eyes through their window as I come in with my tent camp and try to set it up, right? And so, like, I'm not saying I agree with all that stuff. Obviously, that's not the majority of RVers, but the perceptions are different from everybody, right? And so, even though that's funny, and way more funny when you don't hear me tell it and you hear the AI actually do it, right? It's interesting, the perception of how people do that. So, like, inconvenient or unsafe restrooms, same thing. Social awkwardness, like make fear of isolation or clicks. Like this happens
Yeah.
all the time, right? Like the seasonals and monthlies have their click, and then the transients have their
Absolutely.
click, and all that. You got to think about all that stuff, and it's a lot of work. You're like, this is overwhelming. How do I think about all this stuff? You're looking at it, AI right in front of you.
Yep. Ask the questions.
Ask the question. No Wi-Fi or poor connectivity. Not knowing how to camp or what to bring. This is a big one. We talked about this, a lot with Earl from Black Folks Camp 2.
Yep.
But it's obviously like they're a very underserved market, and not to minimize anything with Black folks at all. But also, there's a lot of city people, and there's a lot of white people, and there's a lot of young people and Gen Zers who also have not had the same message given to them.
Nope.
So for sure, you need to talk to Black folks, but you also need to talk to Asian folks, and you need to talk to white folks, and you need to talk to old and young and
Absolutely.
female and men and backgabbers and not backgabbers, right?
Yep. And a lot of those are demographics on the rise. If Scott was here, he could tell us all about it because he did the research for KOA, but those are all demographics on the rise. And if you're not talking to them, holy cow, are you missing out?
Right. And don't think you can talk to them in the same language you've been talking to people for 20 years on social media. Because that's the language that you're talking to old white baby boomers in. Yes, typically. I know I'm being a stereotypical, right?
But typically, like, look at I don't have the exact data, right? But if you look at the demographics of the typical Facebook user versus Instagram user versus TikTok user. You get into Facebook, people start to look like me right here. Like I am an older, or I'm sorry, I'm a middle Gen Xer, and my older brothers are boomers, technically born in the 60s, and that's Facebook. I mean, there are young people on there, but then get into Instagram and it skews younger. It's more millennial. And you get into TikTok and it skews even younger than that. So to your point, you've got to speak a different language to each one of those groups. And
Well,
each
we
one
do
of those
this. I
social
actually do
media
this with
sites.
Brian Searle. I don't know, like probably nobody follows me across all platforms. That would be silly to do all the things, but you digest it on different platforms. Like we actually take this in my AI and I teach it the different algorithms for the different networks. And then it actually, after it generates an image, it will rewrite the long, like what you see on LinkedIn is the long original prompt.
Sure.
And it will rewrite it based on X's algorithm, based on what's the other one? Facebook's algorithm. I think I posted on what's the Blue Sky? I think I posted on Blue Sky too, and maybe Threads are the 4. And so it rewrites it in a different tone and voice based on the algorithm of each language, of each network.
That's awesome. Can I make one suggestion though? You got to rename the thing something besides Brian Searle, because every time you say it, I feel like I'm watching a press conference after a major sporting event.
Yeah.
You're talking about yourself in the third person. It's not working.
I don't know what to read. Like it's posting as me, man. Like it just is. Like I'm trained it in my tone of voice with my knowledge. Like I fed it all the things and perspectives that I do.
But maybe
it's
just
my
they,
unique-
maybe they, it even. I don't know. Something. If you keep saying Brian Searle, people are going to get this idea.
Honestly, it's just going to be me because this is where the world is going, right?
Yeah, right. That's going to be the alternate reality. It's going to end up as you and living forever.
If it is you, like I don't think there's really a problem with that. We don't even need to shift the discussion here to this. But like if it is you for real, like if it is trained and mine is, and it will get better over time. Like we've just begun to get started with where we're experimenting with this stuff. But if it is trained on my meeting notes and my conversations and how I talk and how I send emails and respond, then like if you're giving it the right prompt, that actually is something that you would say that came out of your head. It is you. Like it is you. You're
it
just
answers
not
like you.
doing
It's
the
not
typing.
you, but it answers like you.
I mean,
I was just being a dick, making a joke. We can move on.
But same thing. Anyway, whatever. Okay. So aesthetically unappealing or outdated environments. You know, we've talked about this before. Aesthetically unappealing is an opinion. Start to understand what your different types of, like most people don't understand their target market, which we talked about before.
Yeah.
It's not what you think, but it might be, but like it's probably not what you think, or it's more detailed and granular than you think, or there's more people that you could be reaching than you otherwise haven't, but it's generally not what you think it is.
Generally much more nuanced. Yeah.
Yeah. So use AI and figure that out, but then understand what aesthetically unappealing means to that audience, or that those 4 sets of audiences or 6 sets of people who might come camping with you but don't already, and then understand what that means to them as a whole, because it's not the same as it means to you.
Right on.
Position camping. So how do you opportunities? Position camping is an experience, not just a lodging type. Make camping comfortable, connected, and cool. Again, cool is different for everybody, right?
Yep.
Like it could be air conditioned cool in a cabin. That's not what they mean, to be clear. But use tech, aesthetics, and community as a bridge to nature. Offer customizable levels of roughing it, from tent pads to luxury domes. We talked about that earlier before we even pulled this up.
Yep.
10 experience-based concepts to attract hesitant campers and Gen Z. Glamp and go. Designer tents, domes, or A-frames, preset with beds, lightings, and decks. I swear to God, I did not read this before I had the conversation earlier. Instagrammable and no setup stress. Night sky lounges, hammocks, beanbags, fire pits, and stargazing apps with astronomy events. The cosmic vibes and social hangout is the bonus appeal. Open air silent discos. This is interesting. Headphone powered dance nights under the stars. Quiet hours plus fun plus share worthy. Like unbelievable. Like you don't even have to worry about noise in your campers.
And I'll tell you what, the people that don't have the headphones on at these things are having the best time, because you can't hear any sound, and you see an entire group of people dancing around to nothing. It is hilarious.
It's fucking Instagrammable too. They're taking videos on their phone. Look at these crazy people who are dancing around with no music and they just don't even understand.
I have seen these before, and it is hysterical. And I thought it was going to be really stupid. And I don't want to be one of the ones dancing with the headphones on. That's not my bag. But man, I will watch it all day. It's hilarious because people really get into it, and that's a really good activity right there. I don't know how expensive it is to have headsets for everybody, but you got to be able to get those relatively cheaply. Some
Yeah, I mean, you
Bluetooth
can
headsets.
reuse them and sanitize them, right?
Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah, yeah.
Social fire circles, curated evening circles with prompts, s'more kits, and rotating hosts.
Yep.
Why not?
Community campfire, sure.
Low barrier socializing, outdoor co-work cabins, day use cabins. This is amazing. Like if you're looking at during the week trying to fill cabins,
Yeah.
why can't your cabin, if you have good Wi-Fi and a little table in there or a desk, be a co-working thing? Rent it out during the week. You're looking for people, like take your remote worker. Again, this doesn't work in like the middle of nowhere, right?
No, a rural park this doesn't work at.
Yeah.
Maybe, but you know what? You got any people staying with you monthly or seasonally that are living there and maybe need a quiet workspace to get out of could you rent it to somebody that's already on site? Why
Charge
not?
Charge by the hour.
Just like a cohatch or any other co-working space. Yeah.
I mean, it's better to make $10 an hour on an empty cabin during the week.
Yep.
Or
RV
$20
sites and
an hour.
cabins, they're bananas. They go brown at the end every day. You got to rent that thing.
I mean, you got to think about this stuff.
Yep.
Zen zones, forested platforms for yoga, guided meditations, and sound baths. Wellness focused, like this just outwork, this co-working stuff, this like that, and some of the open air silent discos. Like this shit blows my mind that we're able to talk about this on a show. I don't know. Like if you're not watching Outwired, I feel bad for you. Only because of Greg's advice, not because of mine.
Watching Outwired though, so I don't know who we're talking to at this point.
Yeah, but like, I mean, it's crazy. Maker pop-ups. Nobody's doing anything like this in the industry. You and I had this conversation. We're not going to talk about who or what or how or what the subject matter was, right? But like thought leadership is so important in this industry, and this is why we started Outwired. I'm tired of hearing the same old shit over and over again. It's not that you guys aren't doing good work, and I'm lumping you guys into a big, huge circle and not saying everybody's included. There are definitely really good thought leaders in our industry, but I think for the most part, we see, I wouldn't even say the most part. Yeah, maybe the most part, because the thought leaders are unique, right? They stand apart. But for the most part, it's a lot of the same regurgitation of stuff on LinkedIn and Facebook and everywhere else with a different, try to make it a little bit of a different spin, but it's not really different enough. And it's valuable, to be clear, right? But like this kind of stuff that we're talking about, the stuff that Toby O'Rourke posts about, stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And of course, there are more thought leaders than just Toby O'Rourke and the Outwired show, right?
Yeah, but she's great at it. She shares some really unique perspectives and gives people a lot to get their wheels turning if they really look into what she shares. She's great. Yeah.
Like, but you've got it. Like that's the brilliance and stuff that like you really, nobody else is talking about this shit. They're just not. Maker pop-ups, craft tents, candle making, nature journals, and upcycled gears, creative and local. I mean, again, partner with a local candle shop. Partner with somebody who makes nature journals that are handmade or something, local stuff. Upcycled gear, easy to find, like, right?
Yep.
Camp challenges, AR-based scavenger hunts, geocaching, or skill badges.
Doesn't At My Community have something that works as an AR-based scavenger hunt?
I think that was their competitor.
Yeah.
What was the name of them?
Oh, I forget. I don't even know if they're still around. Rose and Joe have such an amazing product that
Heather and Travis is their names.
Yeah, holy God!
I can't believe I don't remember the name of this company.
Well done, though. You got their names right out the bat. That was really good.
It was Camp App though, right? Camp App? I don't know, something. Anyway, they work with all the yogi parks, I think, still, and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Anyway, outdoor film nights, projector and beanbag cinema, theme nights, or user vote.
Yep.
So interesting there. Like, yeah, again, like people have been doing movie nights.
A lot of folks are doing movie nights outdoors. Yeah. Yep.
It's the special touches that you make on top of that make the difference, right?
Yes, for sure. Micro
events, weekend themes. So Plant Parenthood Camp. That's interesting. Cottage core retreat and camp creators. I really like. I wish I had a conversational thing where I could ask AI like what.
Yeah, what it meant by that, right?
Yeah, what it meant by that stuff.
Yeah.
Activities and themes to mix and match to suit a wide demographic and offer creative flexibility. Campgrounds can adopt modular theme layers. clean budget friendly, clean bathrooms with private stalls, outdoor kitchens or communal grills, fire pits and picnic tables, hammock zones, food trucks or pop-up food vendors, and loaner gear. All this is stuff that doesn't take you any money or very little money.
Not much. No. Yeah, hammocks are pretty cheap. You got a pavilion or something hanging between the posts. There you go.
Mid-range appeal, cozy glamping units, yurts, safari tents, shower suites with warm lighting and mirrors, Wi-Fi zones or outdoor co-working, movie nights and live acoustic music, social concierge, daily activities and mixers, dog parks and dog walking stations. And that's kind of like my mid-tier campground already, right?
Mm-hmm.
Luxury tier, designer domes or glass cabins, in-unit bathrooms and heated floors, right? Like the heated floor thing. I'm telling you, I went to a couple places up here that had that stuff, and I think in Iceland there's a few places.
It's spectacular. It
That's
will change your life.
Crazy, like that's life changing.
It is.
When you're in a cold climate to just walk into the bathroom and not have your feet be ice cold on the tile.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah,
so it's the same thing with the heated towels. Like I can't for the life of me figure out what the fuck is wrong with Americans and Canadians who don't have the heated towel racks.
I don't either. I've only stayed a couple places that have them, and I'm like, big deal. Oh God. Oh,
yes.
It is a big deal. It's insane when you grab that warm towel and you start to dry yourself. It's like, it's that next level.
And you can get the racks. Like they're not that expensive.
No, they're not inexpensive, but if you can break it out by per camper night, you probably pay for that thing pretty fast if you want to upgrade your accommodations. That's the kind of stuff.
And the amount of Americans or Canadians who are just like us, who are like, have never been to Europe, who are like, holy shit, look at this place that has heated towels. Let me take a picture of it. And no, they don't know that it's common all over Europe.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
All right, what do we got? Private hot tubs and saunas, chef pop-ups or hyper local farm to table events. We've talked about that before. On-site spa, facials, massage, and a float tank. It'd be interesting. You could even do float classes in your pool, right? It's not the same as a float tank, but similar. Private guided excursions. We talked about that. Theme ideas to build around. Wellness retreat. Target group would be Gen Z, millennials, and women 25 to 44. Example add-ons could be a yoga dome, cold plunge, or juice bar. Adventure base camp. Outdoor rec travelers. Example add-ons would be gear rentals, shuttle to trails. Digital nomad village. Would be interesting. You could segment your campground into some of this stuff too. If you did your research and you knew there was a big enough market to make segmenting your campground worth it. Festival vibes, nature emergence. Let's see, accommodation mix, tiers by budget. Well, that's like if you're watching the video, if you're listening on audio, which we are, by the way, I got us on a podcast finally. I put all our
saw that. So we got listeners.
Yeah. So those listeners there, you need to come watch the video if you need to understand what we're scrolling by.
I was going to say, will you offer them a way to get a hold of this research that you're doing on the? Am I putting you on the spot? And I should be asking.
I don't know. Like that's an interesting. I think they can certainly see it. Like you could just pause the video and look at it, right?
Yeah, right. But if they're listening, I mean, if they're do our listeners have a way to get
the video? It's on YouTube.
Oh, right. That's right. Yeah. We can go.
Videos on YouTube. We're going to archive them on the site. I started to do that this last weekend. I just didn't get to put them on there, but the back end structure is getting there. So they'll be on YouTube as old things. And we're going to start to upload them to Facebook too, because I noticed that Facebook seems to be like killing old live videos now. I don't know if they're just trying to save storage space. It makes sense.
Interesting.
But I started getting the notifications on Facebook, like your live video is going to expire. I don't remember ever getting that. But also I never go on Facebook. So, all right, year-round design priorities for seasonal versus year-round strategies. So we can talk about that later. I don't know about that. We just got a lot to get to. So then I had it do regional examples here. So I had it do, well, let's look at it briefly. So I had it do seasonal versus year-round strategies. So year-round would be insulated units with electric heat or mini splits, fireplaces and cozy indoor gathering areas, hot tubs, saunas, warm plunge pools, winter trails with snowshoeing, skiing, and hot cocoa hikes. I'm the only thing that disappoints me about hot cocoa is how the little amount of time it stays hot. Really upsets me. Like,
well, that's why you sell your branded Yeti mugs in the store.
That's a good point.
Or 3D print. Oh, I'm tying it back. 3D print your own mugs with branding.
I wonder how much. Like, I'm gonna have to buy one of those printers. We're gonna buy one of those printers and we're gonna do some experiments on the show. Is what we're gonna do.
Now, when you say
Yeah.
we, you mean you, because I'm not putting in on this thing unless
They're
I
only
can.
like $3,400, I think, is
Is
what the
that
top
all that? I
tier
meant to
one is.
ask you. That's all that thing costs?
Yeah, with
Wow.
all the add-ons, the Pro mode. The cheaper one, like there's 2 models actually. The cheaper one without the laser, I think, starts at 1,700.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so we're gonna put that on the list. We're gonna buy one of those because your consulting company, you're gonna sponsor the show, right? And then that'll give
Of
us the
course.
money necessary to buy the printer.
So I guess I am buying one. I said I wasn't, but
Yeah.
here I am buying it. Damn.
Well, like technically, I'm buying it, right? So
That
let's
was
be
easy.
fair.
You well done. Well done. I got suckered right into that.
Yeah, but like that would be interesting. Like we'll print some pretty cool souvenirs, like with Outwired's logo and all kinds of stuff. It'll be really
Heck
cool.
yeah.
We could even give them away to people on the show, right? Like
There you go.
the people. Yeah, if you're watching, you need to watch live because then you can comment. Most of our reviewers, I think, watch after the show. But if you're watching, then we'll just have some cool like giveaways. We'll print some really cool stuff, right? Like
That's a good one.
I don't know. And then we'll just, because you've invested in the 3D printer and I've purchased it, and also I'm doing the work, Scott will pay for the shipping. Yeah, which is volunteer. And then it's fair. Like it's got to be fair, right?
That sounds mostly fair.
Yeah, it's mostly fair.
All right, we should get back to this.
Okay.
We're running out of time.
Seasonal optimization, pop-up events, spring wildflower walks, summer festivals, fall leaf tours, rotating mobile experiences, food trucks and yoga instructors, tent-only areas that close in winter, and then some regional examples. So I had it give me 3 different locations. So I had Florida, Colorado, and Michigan to give us a different example, right? So Florida accommodations would be palm-covered domes, beachy A-frames, and RV pads under shade sails. Amenities could be a cold plunge pool, which would look great in Florida, smoothie bar, outdoor co-working cabanas, live music stage, and group hammocks. Like, I'm telling you, some of these new resorts that we see built, I don't even see this kind of creativity going into them.
No, not generally speaking. There are quite a few people out there that are doing a nice job, but it's not the majority for sure.
This is going to be the difference maker.
So I want to ask you at some point to what you're willing to share with the audience, which models you're using for this. Are you using deep research? Are you building a giant prompt? Is this a series of questions? However much you're willing to share that as we get into
it's a
this.
giant prompt, but I think I used the O1 model for this, the thinking model. Like not the pro mode, the thinking one.
Yeah. And then so O1, not pro, and deep research.
No, maybe I did use the pro mode. I did use the pro mode for this one. But yeah, it's all about the prompting and the thinking.
Of course. Yeah.
It's all about. Yeah.
And anybody out there who wants a quick get around on that, Brian covered it earlier. Ask GPT how you should build the prompt. Tell it what you want to do and ask it what the best way to write that prompt is.
Yeah.
And that's your workaround. So okay. All right. Sorry to get off topic, but
no, you're fine. So experiences, manatee kayak tours, beach yoga. Like I don't know how much you can do the manatee kayak tours because it's protected in certain areas, but
depends on your location and your
beach
access
yoga,
for sure.
Sunset discos, island hopping concierge, specialty, eco-focus, composting toilets, solar pass, and marine education. That's good. Colorado is Rocky Mountain Base Camp near Estes Park or Telluride is where it picked. But accommodations, elevated safari tents, stone cabins, glamping domes with mountain views. I should just become a consultant, Greg. I think I should just become a consultant.
Not enough work for the two of us, man. I'm sorry. I can't.
You sure? Okay.
I mean, we could partner. We'll see what's going on.
You'd probably figure out a way to come to some kind of agreement, perhaps.
I believe that's probably true.
Might be possible because I have a lot on my plate. So amenities, outdoor sauna barrel, hot tub, coffee roastery. That's interesting. Gear rentals, experience, because a lot of this you can attract the nearby public to this too, and that just brings more people into the camping experience. Wow, I'm here for my coffee roastery. The fuck is that? That's a cool glamping tent that's nearby.
Yep, 100%. A lot of these, I was thinking it as you were reading the first set. A lot of these are day pass experiences, and there's a whole other revenue stream for you now. If camping drops off, you've still got some day pass uses, as long as you're not too rural. As long as you can get.
Campground of the future is not a bunch of RV sites lined up to each other. I'm sorry, it's just
probably not. Yep, probably not.
Guided hikes, rock climbing lessons, forest bathing. Thank God we had Scott here to explain that to us a few weeks ago. Snowshoe treks. Lisa said in the background, she's like, I could have told you. Yeah, this is the arrogance I have to deal with.
Lisa's our sage,
Greg. Yeah. Winter heated cabins with fireplaces and snow sports access. Specialty trail to table dinners. That's interesting versus farm to table. Trail to table stargazing lounge. And then Michigan is accommodations, airstreams, lakeside cabins, tents on decks, amenities, bonfire, amphitheater, general store. That would be interesting. Like you could have a bonfire and that could take you into the shoulder season, right? If you just built a little bit of a structure around it
Sure.
to protect it from the wind.
Yep.
General store with cherry jam and beer. I wonder how it chose the cherry jam.
Michigan's known for
Michigan
Traverse
cherries.
City.
Yeah. Okay. All
Traverse City. Yep.
There's also, I was thinking of cranberries. I was thinking of northern Wisconsin.
And you mentioned trail to table in the previous one. That's the foraging piece that Scott was just talking about.
Yep.
That is foraging then taken in and turned into dinner.
Game barn experiences, kayak rentals, s'mores nights, fall harvest festival, Halloween trails, winter cabins open for ice fishing and snowmobiling. Why not?
Yep.
I mean, it's an insurance thing with ice fishing, right? But
it is, yeah, it's a tough one. But you get far enough north, you get some pretty solid ice, even with the more.
It's interesting. Like I'll tell you, the more whiskey or whatever poutine I'm drinking, the better the conversation I think flows for me. But like, but yeah, the ice fishing thing is interesting. Like I have conversations, and I had a conversation with somebody in a Facebook group the other day, and I won't call them out by name, and I'm not saying that they're wrong by any stretch of the imagination, but they were talking about, I can't remember I won't say what I was talking about, even though I don't remember. If I did, I wouldn't say it. But if their argument was like, I think it was about, well, we'll just say it, and like nobody's going to find this thing because I have these conversations all the time. But it was about 11-year-old rigs, right?
Yeah.
And it was how like, well, you've never had to deal with the insurance in those 11-year-old rigs. That's true. I don't have any idea what you're talking about, right? And that's a very valid argument completely. But also, like, what if you figured it out?
Mm-hmm.
What if you didn't just say you've never had to deal with it? What if you, and this person may have been figuring it out or realized it wasn't good. Like, I'm not slighting them in any way, right? But it's an interesting thing. Like, you have to think about that stuff. You don't have to. You don't have to be clear. In my opinion, you should. Especially in a time where you're dealing with a potential down economy.
Yep.
So,
yeah. That might cause a lot of folks. I was very rigid with my long-term customers about the age of their RV. Short-termers, not so much. If you're with me a few nights or a week and it doesn't look great, you're leaving soon. It was not that big a deal. But folks that signed up with me on a seasonal basis, I was because they might be there 5, 6, 7, 10, 15 years. Boy, by then a 25-year-old RV is generally not doing too well. I mean, no matter how well you've maintained it, if it's been outside in the elements on a seasonal campsite,
it's not good, right?
It's showing its age. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's like maybe not the best example in the world, but either way, like just you got to think outside the box. And so maybe
solve for it instead of just see if you can solve. Maybe you can't. Maybe you don't want to.
I'm not going to try.
Yeah. Right.
So again, not accusing the person who this is, if they're watching the show, of not trying. I actually know quite a bit about this operator, and I feel like they are the type of person who would try. But that was the answer to the question, and
maybe they just don't want to, and that's their prerogative too.
Of course it is, and that doesn't mean they're wrong.
Right.
Correct. So, all right. So, and then the conclusion is to reinvent the campground for the next generation. We must combine comfort, creativity, and community. Okay. We got a couple of things that we're going to try to get through here. So let's blast through some of this stuff. So we had it design a visionary campground concept for just hesitant campers first. So this is not the Gen Z. We're going to get to that in a second. We're just going to kind of blast through these a little bit. And if you want to see these again, they're on the video. You can pause and read the whole thing. I'm just going to kind of scroll through this a little bit fast, because we've been talking for so long already. So below is a visionary campground concept designed to redefine roughing it for even the most reluctant camper by fusing futuristic technology, regenerative design, and immersive storytelling and resort quality amenities. This proposal aims to erase every common hesitation, comfort, cleanliness, safety, and beyond, while preserving the magic of nature and the spirit of outdoor adventure. So this campground is designed around the idea of harmonious convergence, a place where human innovation meets the splendor of the natural world. Every facet exudes a feeling of effortless blending between technology, ecology, and comfort. The look is modern and clean, but with organic textures and shapes inspired by the local environment. So the architecture, landscaping, and lighting, a biophilic design. I don't know what that word means. I feel like I'm uneducated now.
It is definitely using big words. Biophilic.
Biophilic. Structures that imitate forms found in nature. Curvilinear roofs? Does that just mean linear roofs that are curved?
Yeah, not, no straight lines.
Okay.
Everything. So we're almost talking Hobbit Village at this point is what I'm picturing, right?
Okay.
Because the homes are.
But that's fine.
apart.
Like if you're gonna invent if you're gonna build a $30 to $50 million luxury RV resort, why would you not take the time? Like you could build all kinds of cool stuff like this.
Absolutely.
$30, $50 million. Layered landscaping, or sorry, we finished the last part of it. Living walls that mimic local plant life. This is crazy too. Like even like I've looked at this for the background. We looked at this for the background for the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
We were going to put some living walls behind it for the greenery. We ended up with the plants. But like, just imagine putting that on the wall of one of your cabins, like one of your cabin walls.
Absolutely.
Insane Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
And I already know the argument from all the people who are watching. My campers will destroy it. Well, like raise your prices and get better campers. They're not all like that. They aren't all like that. Like, is it still possible that that's going to happen? Of course.
Of course. Yeah, and it's a lot of maintenance. It takes a lot of labor for sure.
Yeah. But like the amount you could upcharge for a cabin like that with a living wall and get the social media exposure. I'm not saying it's for everybody. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying
But it's a sweet outside of the box idea.
Yes, consider it. Layered landscaping, terraced pathways, and native plant gardens create natural privacy screens. This is big. Again, nobody, I can't say nobody, that's the wrong word. Lots of people, based on the research of the young Gen Zers and the hesitant travelers, obviously here, and some clamping people, right, don't want to be side by side. They don't want to be 2 feet away from the next cabin or the next RV.
Sure.
So that's not necessarily a bad thing, but remember where the audience is going that you're targeting.
Yeah.
It's not the same boomers that you always have. Native plant gardens create, and there's lots of boomers that enjoy that too, to be clear. Create natural privacy screens. Each level offers a distinct micro experience, a babbling water feature on one terrace, a wildflower meadow on another. There's your repeat guess. 85% of people want new experiences. Stay in a different RV site, one with a babbling brook and one with a wildflower meadow. And obviously where you're located depends on what you can do, right? But
yes, but there's an RV park in northwestern Michigan near Sleeping Bear Dunes called Indigo Bluffs. And if you guys are out there listening, you're one of my favorites. They built a really high-end luxury section of RV sites, and in between each site is a different sort of native plant or babbling brook. They actually did this in between their RV sites. It's incredible. It's absolutely beautiful.
And it's just crazy how many RV, and I think I've stayed at a lot of RV parks, I would say. Not in an RV, but like when I was bootstrapping the company to start, like we probably traveled to 200-300 of them, right? Like people like Mark Kepp, who have traveled all over, have done like way, way, way more, right? But I've never seen anything like this. Ever. Which means it's rare. Enchanted lighting, warm, low voltage LED fixtures illuminate walkways and communal areas. Hidden LED strips and foliage create gentle glows that guide visitors without disturbing nighttime wildlife. Subtle projections at night can transform trees into canvases for art or softly lit patterns, preserving a sense of wonder. That's crazy. I want to stay here already.
Yeah, right.
Innovative accommodations, floating pod suites suspended over shallow, eco-engineered pods. These ponds. These pods have transparent bases for nighttime stargazing and a see-through view of the aquatic ecosystem below. I got to tell you, I'm just continuing to read this. This is one of my favorite episodes we've done already. I think
it's a hell of a build. I'm adding up the build cost on this one, and it is certainly not a small investment. But you've built something that
you've built something that's going to appeal to people for 20, 30, 40 years, right?
Easy.
You update it and maintain it.
Yeah.
So yeah, nobody's saying this is. We didn't ask it for cheap, right? We ask it to be creative and inventive, and who knows what the cost of goods come down to when the robots are making stuff.
And when we're 3D printing all this stuff, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not unrealistic. Cocoon-like orbs, treehouse orbs. Cocoon-like orbs built around sturdy trunks with flexible walkways outfitted with soundproofing materials so guests can enjoy forest surroundings without noise concerns. Eco-dome clusters. Again, you can come see some of this stuff. Solar capsule cabins. Hospital-grade air and surface sterilization. That's not hard, but like a lot more common after COVID.
Yeah, it is.
For those tools. Allergen and pest control. Smart security. That saves you time when you're doing that. Amenities and services, self-sterilizing restrooms. Those are actually pretty easy. Like they're not cheap, but like
No, but they're a
compared to
lot
the
more
labor
common.
cost of,
Yeah.
nature-infused spas, smart lockers, concierge apps, wearable tech with wristbands. We were talking about this with one of the people who used NewBooks API. This is like you have the ability to load wristbands. We can actually do that through the API. So we can programmatically do all kinds of really cool stuff and then load their balance to the API.
Very nice.
Food and dining, curated meal boxes available via app. Yeah. Why not? Like you can pre-make these and store them in your freezer. Sustainability and convenience, although maybe like, I don't know, like I would obviously like something that wasn't frozen, but still like, on-site electric vehicles. That's also my preference, to be clear, by the way. So I fell into the own trap of my biases that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
On-site electric vehicles, a fleet of silent electric golf carts or scooters, automated waste sorting, intelligent bins that separate recycles, compost, or landfill automatically, social spaces and programming, central gathering pavilion, a futuristic greenhouse-like structure that houses a hydroponic garden and cafe seating. Also, like hydroponic gardens, vertical gardens, like grow the things that you're putting in the restaurant and making in the farm to table or trail to table things, right? Again, this is a lot of work and planning. This is not easy. This is not cookie cutter.
Yeah, and a lot of this is out of the reach of most everyone who's out building a park right now. But it gives you something to inspired.
But like
sure.
take a piece of it. Take one or two things, right? Nobody's saying build this from scratch.
Yeah,
This
it
is
gives you
meant
something to aspire
spark
to.
the imagination. Yeah.
Yeah.
That houses hydroponic garden and cafe seating, serving as a central hub. Gas-powered fire pits arranged in cozy clusters. Guided nature walks, creative arts, opt-in social events. Layered Wi-Fi, holographic nature tours, interactive pods that project 3D images of local history, flora, and fauna, solar-powered charging stations, meditation pods overlooking waterfalls. I mean, like that, you have to have a really nice land thing there, right?
Yeah.
Like right by a waterfall, but aromatherapy trails, spa features, nutritional dining and quiet zones, et cetera, et cetera. So we're just going to scroll down through this because there's a couple more we want to try to rush through real quick. Safety, cleanliness. So overcoming hesitations, like, can we take 5 more minutes if we need 5 more minutes here, Greg? Is this a good conversation or no?
Yeah, we got 5 more minutes.
Okay. Well, like, I mean, 5 more past our 2-hour hard stop or what? I'm not going to rush through these, but.
We can go 5 more, yeah.
So bugs and critters, insect repelling landscaping, discrete sonic pest deterrents around lodging, weather concerns, smart glass dome lodgings that auto-regulate temperature, retractable canopies over communal areas, biometric entry, perimeter sensors for wildlife, cleanliness, UV sterilization, roughing and anxiety, plush bedding, temperature control, privacy curtained outdoor lodges. I really think a lot of this stuff, it seems crazy to our audience. I really think a lot of this stuff is going to come down in pricing very quickly.
And a lot of it's not. Like the one you just read, plush bedding, temperature control, privacy curtain, outdoor that's you just described a glamping resort.
Yeah.
That's what glampers want. I mean, but time and time again, the data says that. That's exactly what glampers want.
Multiple smaller community spots rather than one huge area. And then blueprints and cohesive conclusion. Okay. So then let's go to Gen Zers real quick. Color palette for a campground designed for, so this is a campground designed for integrating Gen Z's values and aesthetics, from share-worthy spaces and cutting-edge tech to communal energy and sustainability. Social media-ready environments, color palette, pastel pops, lavender, mint, and peach against neutral or natural backdrops for an Insta-ready contrast. Incorporate neon lighting accents on pathways, communal lounges to add a futuristic vibe. Again, you got to go after this audience, right? So this is something where you're saying, like, I've done my market research and I know that I can attract a lot of Gen Zs if I do this. Minimalistic structures use simple geometric forms, street art murals and interactive walls. Commission local artists to create massive interactive murals that react to touch or light. Interesting. Photo moments, stargazing bubbles, transparent inflatable domes for overnight stays, or just hanging out under the night sky. Glow in the dark hammock forest. That would be cool to see. That'd be cool to see, wouldn't it? Like you put a
Yeah,
little.
there's a cool company, I think they're still around, called Tensile or Tensile, and they're triangular, essentially hammocks, but also tents. So you string it up between 3 trees or 3 anchor points and stretch it tight, and you can actually sleep in the thing. And it's a tent that's also a hammock. And now they sell them just as hammocks, and there's a little hole in the center of each one that you can drop a rope ladder through. And there's some
Okay.
photos of them online where they've stacked them, and you can go from one hammock to the next hammock to the next hammock to the next hammock. I have no idea what the liability insurance on something like that would be, but it would be a fantastic experience until somebody fell out. But it looks so cool to see them in the photos. It looks amazing.
But even if they're separate, imagine like putting
Yeah.
some of the tiki torches or just like neon lights or solar charging things,
Sure.
like
Make
in
it
a
glow.
clearing in a wood area, like a clearing that you have, just a
Yeah.
small clearing with like neon, like you could put light strips along the hammock or something. Imagine people just walking back to their RV sites at night, like, what the fuck is that? I want to go see that.
Yeah.
Taking pictures of that stuff, right? That's not that. Gradient lit tree houses where the exterior color slowly shifts in gradients throughout the evening. Cool stuff. You can buy these outdoor light strips from Philip Hughes.
I was going to say that, and you can
Like-
have it shift on its own, and they're inexpensive.
Mhm. They're
Yeah.
very inexpensive. Silent disco nights, we already talked about. And the other one, creative maker workshops, host sessions where campers make tie-dye apparel, DIY terrariums or digital art. So just level up your creative making a little bit, right? Depending on your audience. Lots of people still like tie-dye, right?
Yep.
The end with communal laughter photos and new friendships. Safe spaces for self-expression. Open mic lounge where they can perform music, poetry, or comedy. Digital creator studio, soundproof pods equipped with recording gear. Rooftop DJ booth by the lake. Overlook the water from an elevated platform. Like again, you've got to advertise to these people, but the people who will, there are a significant number of people, if you're near a city, who will pay for a rooftop DJ booth, generally speaking. And if it is perhaps by a lake, if your campground is on it and it overlooks the water, the amount of money you can rent one of those things for by the hour is probably $200 or $300. And we've seen them in co-working spaces where I used to live in Cleveland, Ohio. They're here in Calgary. Again, this is not something you can do rural, but the amount of money that you can make from that stuff is crazy. Like, think of all the space that's not necessarily wasted, but unused at an RV park.
Yeah, yes. That's not necessarily monetized.
Tech and innovation, AR scavenger hunts, interactive nature trails, projection mapping on trees, invisible charging solutions, wireless charging stations embedded in benches, picnic tables, or even the ground, for sure. Absolutely. VR, AR corners, sustainability and responsibility, water filtration and reuse, waste reduction, biodiversity, regenerative and rewilding, living architecture, green roofs, vertical gardens, conservation, forest bathing pods, guided journaling hikes, sound healing sessions, on-site therapist or counselor. You could have your own therapist or counselor be kind of trained to like subtly suggest under hypnosis that you're the best campground ever.
You had an on-site therapist or counselor, the GM is going to be taking up all their time at this park. I can tell you right now, the GM is going to be in there constantly. This is a hell of a park to run. Let me tell you, it's amazing. But yeah, the GM.
I mean, again, like just take pieces of it, right?
Yes.
But like if you're building, there are people we saw after COVID who were building $30 to $50 million parks.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't all over the place. But again, like I really feel like if you put your head into technology and learn some of this stuff, like I bet you I could build some of this stuff for half the price that you think I can build it for today. Like it would be hard work and it would take time, but I bet you I could.
Yeah, it's the infrastructure that'll kill you. That's
Yeah.
the hard part. The engineering and the infrastructure alone on something like this would be really, really expensive.
But in 5 years, when you can have humanoid robots build this on from a 3D printer,
Potentially. Yep.
floating cloud pods, elevated spherical rooms that appear to hover above the ground, geodesic domes, translucent at night, tree canopy capsules suspended among branches, balancing privacy and community, cultural and artistic fusion, Rotating art installations, partner with local or traveling artists, immersive performances that blend local folklore. Like a lot of these people will come for not a lot of money because they want the exposure.
Yeah.
Regional modern spin. Like so many people have culture. Like, I used to say all the time, and I still kind of sort of believe this, but but going among the different places in the United States, obviously there's lots of amazing things to see. And this is the same for Canada too, probably. But like going among the cities, like there's lots of beautiful national parks, and there is culture, but it's hard to see when you're driving on a road trip nonstop
Yeah.
and you see the same shopping strips and the same Walmarts and the same, pull off for the biggest chair in North America or whatever, right? That's technically culture, and that's cool to see. But like, it's hard sometimes if you're not advertising this stuff. But think about there is something unique about the local town wherever you're in, no matter how small it is, whether it's its history or its culture or the people that live there or a story they have to tell or the factory that used to run the town or whatever else, right? Find that stuff and tell those stories. Barrier-free pathways for inclusion and accessibility, adaptive gear, all gender facilities, scholarships and discounts, choose your own adventure programming. That's interesting. All right. Storyboarding, day in the life. That's interesting. This is cool. Guests wake up in a cloud pod gently illuminated by a smart lighting system simulating dawn. That's interesting. Morning, 8 a.m., plant-based breakfast, AR scavenger hunt, maker workshop, forest bathing, glow-in-the-dark hammock forest. And I'll tell you, like, for all the things that we talk about, this is expensive. You don't think Marriott's going to build stuff like this?
Now that they're diving in, absolutely. Yeah. They're the ones that can do this. Yep. And if anybody from Marriott is watching, call me. I know how to, we'll put it together. We'll put it together.
All right. Last one. Let's spend a couple minutes on this and let's wrap up the show. So this is the next level campground designed for a future in which Gen Z travelers who are growing up now are accompanied by humanoid robots, and they roam freely without the constraints of traditional jobs because the jobs are gone. Traditional jobs are gone, right?
Yep.
Each element weaves together cutting-edge technology, ecological stewardship, and social connectivity. So autonomous entrances. Guests arrive in silent, emissions-free autonomous vehicles that wirelessly sync with the campground's network. As each vehicle approaches the gated entrance, it exchanges data such as guest preferences or reservation details with the campsite's AI in seconds. And if you don't think I'm going to build that, you have another thing coming because I'm going to build that, Greg.
Oh yeah, it just your vehicle goes right to the site, parks you, it's all taken care of. You don't stop for anything.
And if you don't consult with Greg Emmert, you're not going to have access to the consulting knowledge in here.
That's right.
Because I just do marketing. Greg's the
That's right.
consulting. AR assisted greeting, humanoid robot receptionists approach each vehicle to guide arrivals. Through a guest's own wearable device or AR windshield overlay, the campsite layout, available activities, and upcoming social events appear in real time. The overlay can even identify open lodging spots, show real-time occupant data, and suggest potential group experiences. Like, I know this doesn't resonate with a lot of people, but this is cool to me. What do you think, Greg?
Oh yeah, this is wild. And by then, everybody's going to have Meta glasses or whatever. Those things are going to change my life. I keep waiting for them to come out because my brain is porous. I can't remember where I put something. Did I say this to something? Did I lock the door? Did I all that stuff? I can't. I don't even need glasses. And as soon as they're available at that kind of a level, I've got a pair. So this is just a continuation of that. And I'll probably have those. I'm guessing those glasses are going to be like that by the end of this year, maybe sooner.
Oh yeah, like they're already working on them.
Okay.
Interactive. Go ahead.
No, that's it. We should keep going. Yep.
So do I. But this is cool. Like I want to just blast through this. Interactive onboarding, personalized recommendations. Each traveler's AI assistant or robot companion scans the environment to suggest curated itineraries, be it scenic drones, eye view hikes. Scenic drones, eye view hikes. I don't know.
Drones eye view.
Drones eye view hikes. Okay. Yeah. Advanced yoga sessions at the Lakeside AR Pavilion or a night under the dancing drone fireflies. Gamified check-in. Arrivals can gamify the process by collecting AR tokens scattered around the campground. Each token can be redeemed for small perks like a gourmet snack delivered by a drone. For sure, that would be cool. This transforms the simple act of finding one site into an interactive scavenger hunt and encourages exploration from the moment they pull in. Lodging in the post-work era. Adaptive living spaces. Floating sky lodge pods. suspended from sturdy, genetically modified sky trees. This is cool. These transparent pods offer panoramic views of the surrounding landscape. Each pod can morph into its interior layout, expanding for social gatherings or contracting to create a cozy, energy-efficient sleep capsule. I'm going to dream about this stuff tonight, man.
That's very Jetsons. Very, very Jetsons.
But like people think this is nuts, but this is going to be possible in probably 15 years. 10, 15 years. Some of this stuff is going to be. Bioluminescent bubble domes. Half-buried domes built with bioluminescent materials glow gently at night, lending an otherworldly ambiance while harvesting solar energy by day. Inside, advanced climate control adjusts temperature and humidity to the occupants' biometric data, ensuring optimal comfort. Human and robot-friendly infrastructure. Robot docking stations. Each lodging unit includes a dedicated space for robots to recharge and undergo self-diagnostics. These docking areas seamlessly blend into the unit's design, think invisible panels in the wall that open to reveal charging points. Advanced cleaning and maintenance drones. After guests depart a site, humans, robots, or both. An automated cleaning squad ensures the space is pristine, using a combination of UV sanitizing rays and micro drones. That's crazy. AI-powered amenities and autonomous services, on-demand drone deliveries, AI-driven bartenders and chefs, personalized wellness adventure, wearable sensor integration. Guests wear discrete biosensor bands that feed data to a campground-wide wellness AI, which then recommends experiences like guided forest bathing, stargazing at optimal times, or visits to the meditation glade.
And can tell you which one of those things are currently occupied and which one can like keep the flow going, so no one is, not that we don't want people to interact, but if you want a private experience on that yoga platform,
It's
you know
just
when it's
crazy
occupied,
to
when it's
me
not.
how many people will look at this show and will say they're nuts because they don't understand where the tech is, but also like the amount of people that this will change lives for and bring into the world of camping if people embrace this is astounding. The money to be made here if you embrace this fusion between glamping and camping and what Marriott will do or IHG or Hilton or whatever else.
Yeah.
Like
Big
you
money
have
players
the
that can build it.
the
Yeah.
playing field is level right now, guys. Don't let them win. Here's your ideas. Not that you can spend $100 million like a Marriott can, right? But
Yeah,
like you can start
the
somewhere.
difference. So I wish I could keep going, but I do need to go.
So do I. But
yeah, we
let's
should
do
that's
this for 5 seconds.
it's a good stop point.
AR rock climbing, VR, AI enhanced campsite labs, robot human yoga, eco monitoring expeditions, robot retreat and repair haven, multi-species social lounge. That's interesting.
I have
Living
that every night
architecture.
with dogs. That's actually where I have to go. They're waiting for me.
All right. Yeah, we'll have to explore this some other time in a future episode, but all right, cool.
Good show,
thank
man.
you for another good show. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you guys later, and we'll see you next week on another episode of Outwires. Cheers. Outwires.
Bye, everybody.
Lisa's trying to find the outro. She can't find it.